Okay, got it together, I think. And this is a special edition, a special presentation of Here and Gone. This is going to be a sequential performance of an entire record of mine that I made back in the, I don't remember. The timeline is hazy because I wrote this whole album in the early 90s, and then it took me some time to record it. Here it is. If you'd like to see it, it's on Spotify, it's on iTunes. It's called I Love to Tell the Story. There's a nice cover designed by a lady, and you're getting all the glare here. Hang on a second. Let me see if I can do this without the glare. There, that's kind of okay. It's called I Love to Tell the Story, and I'll tell you the stories behind it, the story of how I conceived it. I was living alone in a farmhouse in Hunterdon County, New Jersey, during that time, and I was I'm not going to mince words. I was kind of drying out from a drinking problem that I had established after my record deal went south. And, yes, so that was kind of God's rehab for me to be alone in a farmhouse for a year. I recorded the record on my original Santa Cruz, which is the exact same model as this. This could take a whole hour to explain this, but this is a second Santa Cruz that I obtained after I had to sell the first one to what did I do now? After I had to sell the first one to pay for Christmas one year. Okay, that didn't work. No idea why. Let me try something again. Bear with me for a moment. This will be worth it ultimately, I think. There it is. Okay. I'm going to hit that. Scotzo's here. That's always encouraging when he's in the house. Hi, bro. Before we are joined by other people, let me tell you, bro, that you're exempt from the... I'm asking for a $10 donation tonight, but in light of your generosity, you can ignore that. Okay. Let me get back to this. This is an album called I Love to Tell the Story. It was supposed to be a myriad different examples of various kinds of storytelling. And yes, the old hymn I Love to Tell the Story was the title track. And let me tell you for a moment before I start the story behind that hymn, because it inspired me in a way, and it was the kind of linchpin of the whole thing. I always am interested in the stories behind the hymns. And there was a woman in England named Catherine Hankey, and she had a street ministry, I think to women mostly. Wayward homeless women, they might have called them in those days. And she then became ill. And in those days, they would call a person an invalid. And they didn't always have a way to cure them or to even find out what was wrong. And so she spent a year in bed. And during that time, she said she was in great doubt and a lot of introspection. And she was wondering why God was doing this to her, because she had had a valuable ministry going, and then it was taken away. And during that year, all she did, she said, the whole year was, all I did was write the poem, I Love to Tell the Story, which of course has now changed the world in so many ways. Thanks, God. I'm with you, bro. Eli was supposed to read something on my behalf at Matt's memorial, and I was very disappointed when I found out he didn't do it. I guess they just ran out of time or whatever. Catherine Hankey wrote this poem with like 19 verses or something. The story lost, the story found. I love to tell the story. And then a piano repairman, tuner, music teacher from Philadelphia, of all places. And what was his name? I'll think of it in a minute. William Fisher. William Fisher. I can't believe I remembered that. William Fisher from Philadelphia wrote the music to it, which of course is a huge part of it. So I think I will do what was planned on the record to be a medley. I'm going to play I Love to Tell the Story. That's the opening cut. And then it goes right into a song that's supposed to be the first single. And much to my joy and great satisfaction, the stellar musician John Corba recorded this song on an album he did some years ago, and that was one of my biggest thrills, to get someone of his caliber to record the song called If Only I Could Be With You Tonight. So I'll play these two things together as they were meant to do, and welcome, and say hi in the chat room if you're there. I love to tell the story of unseen things above, of Jesus and his glory, of Jesus and his love. I love to tell the story because I know it's true. It satisfies my longings as nothing else can do. I love to tell the story. It will be my theme in glory, to tell the old story of Jesus and his love. Jesus and his love. Yeah. I'm so used to being alone that it almost doesn't bother me anymore. There is always the phone, yeah, always a voice on the radio, like a friend at my So my niece, Jennifer Murgott, told me she's fond of that song. So if the atmospheric conditions align here and she sees this on YouTube or anywhere, I dedicate it to her tonight. I wrote that song alone in my parents' farmhouse, and I wrote it after a period of some inactivity. As a writer, and I'll explain that in a minute, that statement. But a friend of mine, Fred Holman, and maybe Fred and Cynthia, his wife, might see this. Fred loaned me one of those early primitive Casio keyboards, and it was one of the big heavy metal keyboards that had 6 sounds in it. It was their first, and they were so good, and 4 of the sounds were beautiful. 2 of them were completely unusable. But in any event, I wrote the song on that. It was an inspiring sound on the keyboard that got me going on it. And then I transcribed it for guitar. Let me give you a little background history. In the late 80s, in 1989, I released the last album on my label, Notebook Records, which arguably is the oldest independent record label in New Jersey, even though others have claimed that. In 1989, I released this album, My Home Isn't in This World, and I had a lot of hopes for it. I had a radio promotion man working it around the country. I had a band, the Stingers, that was, ready to go, performing those songs. And one of our unusual offers as we started to get radio airplay, and I'd say we probably got 250 stations playing it. And across the country, I was getting phone calls about it and even letters. There was no email then, no texts. So it was just out there in the ether. And I had the group Glad sing a song on it that I wrote, music to Psalm 113. And they got a lot of notice on various stations. As a matter of fact, one station in the Midwest started playing their album over mine, and I was in their top 10, and then Glad's album passed my album, and I couldn't be happier. I was like glad, pardon the pun, I was happy for them that people discovered their great album called the A Cappella Project. But so all over the country, including Hawaii. And so we got this offer from a radio station in Hawaii saying, we will put you up in a hotel and get you a gig out here if you will bring your band, the Stingers, out to play for us in Hawaii here. We're playing your record. We love it. And, the asterisk to that was they wouldn't pay our transportation. So, the A Cappella Project, Scott, was the album at the time that started to get noticed because Glad sang my song a cappella on my record. Okay, so I want to keep moving along, playing this album. I Love to Tell the Story, the name of the record. And Hawaii is where they were. One of the places they were playing it. They played it all over the place. Salt Lake City was playing it a lot. But I didn't have the money. I didn't have a label to pick up and bring a band to these places. So I lost the opportunity, really. And one day I got this huge box in the mail. And I opened it, and it was all the records of My Home Isn't in This World, all the cassettes and all the CDs returned to me from the distributor. They say, we're sending them back to you. They're not selling. So I was crushed. I thought this was my big breakthrough album. I thought this was what I was supposed to be doing, was to bring a spiritual theme to pop music. And so I stopped writing songs for the first time in my adult life. No, I didn't go to Hawaii, Scott. I couldn't afford for me to go alone or to bring my whole band out there, which they invited us to play. Let me catch my train of thought here. I didn't write for a year in the farmhouse. I was just like, I'm retired. I can't do it anymore. And then one day I wrote this song. And when I wrote this song, and it's the next song on the album, by the way, the album's available on Spotify, it's available on iTunes, etc., etc. There's no hard copies of it left anymore. Even if you wanted to buy one, I don't think you could. But you can download it. You can find it if you're interested. Oh, and additionally, I recorded the whole album on a 4-track cassette recorder a la Bruce Springsteen's Nebraska. And that was an experiment that kind of worked about 50% of the time. So it doesn't hold up. I'm being brutally honest about my own record. It doesn't hold up 100%. Some of it does, and I have a couple of recordings that I'm very happy with on the record. When I get to the last song on the album called Last Night I Dreamed There Was a Bell, I'll tell you about that. That recording, that's a miracle recording. It's got like 7 instruments on 4 tracks. I had to bounce tracks like the Beatles used to do. It's got mandolin, banjo, 12-string guitar, 6-string guitar, keyboards. It's quite a smorgasbord. So, Scott, so it looks like it's you and me for a while here, although lots of people do watch this on YouTube when I repost it. So if you're out there on YouTube seeing this in the next couple of days, welcome. God bless you. So here's the song that I wrote after a year of not writing. And when I wrote this song, it's amazing that I remember all these. I can perform them all. I never really performed them that much. I'm not using a lyric sheet except for the last song, which I've never played live before. But this song, Maybe I Was Born to Be a Witness, was the song that made me realize that I would be writing songs even if I was on a desert island. see how it works. I realized I was a songwriter, and it didn't matter if my projects were all that popular or not. So let me play it for you. It goes like this. Watch them board the airplane. I couldn't move, I couldn't intervene. Yeah. Maybe I was born to be a witness. And tell the world about the things I've seen, yeah. take the stand. Yeah, 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 yeah. And hitting on the ground, yeah, as I watch them fly away. I wondered how the story would get out. Maybe in the end I'll be a soldier, and on the field of battle nobly die. Yeah, yeah. Maybe I was born to be a witness. Maybe I was born to testify. Yeah, yeah. Maybe I was born to testify. Okay, that's the third cut from the record, I Love to Tell the Story. And it's about telling the story, isn't it? And I wrote it after quitting songwriting for a year. Now, you see behind me, perhaps, my 12-string, my old rattly, cheap 12-string that I bought from Jeff Klein's down in Lambertville. I love it. Records great. And so I'm going to play the next cut off of the album. And this is a song that I would say is the epitome of folk rock. So guess what? It's out of tune. There's a big surprise, right? When I first got my 12-string, my friends didn't see me for weeks. They said, "Where you been?" I said, "I've been home tuning my 12-string. Hi, Nancy. Good to see you. Glad you're here." So, picture this with kind of a folk rock backing to it. I gotta turn that microphone down. Hang on a second. It's too big. Ooh, yeah. broken hearted and down when I was from the poor side of town. Okay, folk rock is what we used to call it. And that is the ensuing cut from the record I Love to Tell the Story, which I'm performing in its entirety here tonight. Stampy is sitting behind the camera, and he looked rather concerned when I was playing that song. He was like, dude, is this the way it's going to go? Lance, it's nice to hear from you. Yes, Ted is a good friend and a great DJ. Thank you, Nancy. That means a lot to me. Now, this next song has a special place in my history because I've, over the years, tried to write impressionistic songs, and they never work. It's almost impossible to write an impressionistic song and make it work. But I finally created one. Again, I wrote this at my parents' farmhouse in Kingwood, New Jersey. A friend of mine, Wayne Dovan, has always been a champion of this song. And then, additionally, this song is in the Smithsonian Institute, believe it or not, on a collection called Songs from the Garden State, which is from the Fast Folk group started by Jack Hardy. And you get one chance to record the song, one take. And we recorded it in a farmhouse in Flemington. And that night, Richard Schindel recorded his classic song, A Summer Wind in a Cotton Dress. And that's the best version of that song. It was from Songs from the Garden State. I highly recommend it. And so I wrote this impressionistic song called I Saw Marie at the Fair. It's the next song on the album. It goes like this. Sunshine, slow clock, keychain, cobblestone street, June sky, twilight, I saw Marie at the fair. Red hair, emerald green, small change, 50 balloons. Blind man, voices and smoke, I saw Marie at the fair. Roses, crystal and lace, dark wood, my coffee cup, candles burning, I saw Marie at the fair. from I Love to Tell the Story, available on Spotify. It's so strange. We never thought there'd be a time when CDs would just be completely gone, but they're pretty much gone at this point. They might make a comeback, but until then, nobody's buying them. They might be buying books, however. And so let me show you a couple. These are my books, friends. I'm going to switch cameras here for a minute. Monitors, actually. This is my book, How to Play the Guitar in 1 Hour, with a blurb by Elliot Randall, the great studio guitar player who played Reelin' in the Years, which is Jimmy Page's favorite solo. I'm not going to read you the blurb. That was so nice of Elliot to do that for me. And this is my book of short stories, There Must Be a Better World Somewhere. And see, I love to tell the story is the theme tonight, isn't it? And this is a vivid illustration of that. I love to tell stories, just like Ted Lyons does. And this is my new book. This is my children's book. It's Garbo Speaks About a Raccoon Who Lives in a Garbage Can and Plays the Ukulele. And it has tips on how to play the ukulele. All of these are available on Amazon. Just put in Chip Mergott, M-E-R-G-O-T-T, and put that in Amazon, and you'll find me. And more power to you. It'll be my pleasure to sign it for you. I've heard that the unsigned copies are going for more than the signed copies. That's a joke. Okay, let me get back to the other monitor for a minute. I am going through. Hi, Joy. Nice to have you in the crowd. Everyone virtually knows that the great Jeff Beck just passed away unexpectedly at the age of 78. He was in good shape for 78. And people who know me know that I like to work in medleys. And Jeff Beck had a great version years ago, acoustic guitar version of Greensleeves. James Taylor has a great version. But I need to set this up before I perform it. Do you know what the first million-selling folk song was? The first million-selling folk song was Tom Dooley, which was a retelling of a true story, the way that folk music does often. And that story was about a man named Tom Dooley who fell in love with a woman named Ann Melton. And they wanted to have their love. This was down in North Carolina. And but Tom Dooley had a problem. He was engaged to another woman, and her name was Laura Foster. And Laura Foster was in the way, and he and Ann Melton proceeded to dispose of her. They murdered her. He murdered her, really. And then they made this million-selling record. Isn't this interesting? Folk music and other kinds of music, too. Heavy metal, everything. We often write the songs about the villains, don't we? And we remember them, and the victims go unnoticed and unremembered. And so I wanted to remember Laura Foster, who was a real person. And I wrote this song, The Ballad of Laura Foster. and recorded it. There was a radio station in Wales playing it. I'm happy to say, and I'm still friends with that DJ. I'll talk about him later. But I'm going to play a song that was played around the same time, I'm sure, during the Civil War. Well, that's not good enough. I'm sorry. Doesn't matter. I'll take a moment to tune here. And I highly recommend you look up Jeff Beck's version of Greensleeves. That was not off by very much. Tired of hearing about him. His side of the story is old. When they tell it on the mountain, her side is seldom ever told. But Laura, I won't forget about you. In my heart, you're still alive. Your name will survive. Tom Dooley, the war hero, wanted Ann Belton for his wife. In their twisted crime of passion, they traded their love for your precious life. But Laura, if I'd been there to help you, would I be with you tonight? Summer of '59, we thought that love could be ours. We dreamed of peace in our time. One in a million, but nobody remembers your name. Pray heaven help the victims. Let the heroes and the villains keep the fame. But Laura, if only I had told you all the things I meant to say. I have to kind of recover from that. The medley on the album is 3 songs that run together that are all meant to be one long piece. I've used that form numerous times in my life. I used it on My Home Isn't in This World. I used it on Three Gamblers on my very first album, the album that I recorded for London Records that David Spinoza produced. I used it here with Greensleeves, Laura Foster, and then you're supposed to go right into the next song, which is called The Letter That You Wrote. But it's a complex, difficult song. I think it's maybe the real song of the whole record. I'm very proud of the way this song came out. It's another song that I wrote at my parents' farmhouse. It kind of came from a real-life correspondence that I was having. Like I said, it's not easy to play. I'll try it. If you're interested in hearing the recorded version, it's on iTunes, Spotify, Apple Music, and blah, 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 blah. But it's called The Letter That You Wrote. Marcia, glad you're here. Don't know what to say about that. The link worked for other people, so but I'm glad you're here now, and you can always go back and watch it. I'm gonna post it on YouTube in the next couple of days. This is the album I Love to Tell the Story, played sequentially, and this song is called The Letter That You Wrote. I can almost see you standing in your long white dress. I can almost hear your voice. Yes, yes. I'll always keep it close. It's there when I need it. The letter that you wrote. They can take it all and burn it. Everything I own, yeah. All I've ever had, or I've ever known. But they can't have the note. It's written in my heart. The letter that you wrote. In the longest hour of the darkest night, it came to rescue me. Now it's time for me to go, and so I'll be on my way. Part of the Ballad of Laura Foster medley from the album I Love to Tell the Story, by me, Chip Murgott, M-E-R-G-T-T. No, nobody knows who I am. I'm not famous. I get that. I don't even really need to hold the album up anymore because you can't buy it anymore. But now comes a song that I actually wrote down at the Jersey Shore. And when I moved out to the Philly area, where the Philly Folk Fest had been happening, after I had been fronting a rock band called the Stingers for some years in Central Jersey, we released 2 albums. One was called Roomful of Noise, and the other's called My Home Isn't in This World. Both of them got significant radio airplay and significantly low sales. So they didn't do it for me. I'm not going to bore you with all the people who I heard from after I released those records who told me they liked them, including Bonnie Raitt, who called me up after she heard My Home Isn't in This World. It doesn't matter that much, but it was encouraging to me to keep going. Thank you, Marcia. I appreciate that. You're a great encouragement. You guys are all encouragers. I'm glad to have you in the chat room. Glad to have anyone. Sometimes my friend Vera Sands watches this after the fact. So love to her and Robert, her husband. Robert has my original Santa Cruz SJ. I sold it to him before I got this one. And that's the original one that he has is the one I recorded most of the songs on this record with. And when I moved out to Philly and met Annie, and she was one of the greatest songwriters I've ever met, and she introduced me to the ways of the folk world. I didn't know anything about it. Here's what I found out, friends. I found out that what you say between the songs is 50% of why people come and see you in the folk world. Amazing. And I needed a song at that point, at that juncture. I needed a song that was self-contained. I had all these songs like Waiting for an SST that were completely band-oriented and that I rocked out. One is called Roomful of Noise, a real blazing rocker. Oh, before I continue, I have to tell you, big announcement tonight. Thank you so much for your very generous support of my New Year's Eve gig with my great friend, Alan LaBeouf, who plays Paul McCartney in Beatlemania. Well, very happy to announce tonight, Alan's coming back here to the kitchen February 3rd. So that's not that long from now. And we're going to do another piano set like we did on New Year's Eve. I'm going to try to prevail upon Alan to do some of his originals that night. And maybe even a song or two that he and I wrote together. Here's the song that I got when I was spending the winter one year down on Barnegat Bay, not too far from my friend Marcia. And what were we doing then, Marcia? We should have been hanging out together. This is the song I needed at the time, and I got it. And then I spent my gigs talking between the songs. I had never said 2 words when I was fronting the Stingers. And it goes like this. And I dedicate this tonight to the memory of my uncle Mike Kuhn, who gave me my first 3 guitars. And I dedicate it to the memory of Rick Philp, one of the greatest guitar players who ever lived. And he was on my mind when I wrote this. He bought it to play for my mother when he still loved her from afar. He left it to my older brother. This was my father's guitar. The road was his life and the reason he lived in a year for a year in a car. He played it for only the time goes. One time he went away, and he didn't come back for 3 whole days. You can give it away, you can sell it, play it in church or a bar, but take it, I want you to have it. This was your father's guitar. It's yours now, I want you to have it. This was your father's guitar. Glad to have you with me tonight here in the kitchen in Bucks County, PA. I'm getting down to the last 2 songs of the record. The record being I Love to Tell the Story. This is a very special song to me. There was some talk about somebody was going to record it once. I don't remember, but didn't pan out. Thank you, Marcia. No, I wasn't on LBI. I was in Brick Township. I was on Barnegat Bay by the Shore Acres Yacht Club there in Brick, down the road from the Red Lion Inn, which you and I went to with the Kuhns and with our families as kids. This is a hard one to sing. That's all right. I'll do my best. I'm actually a better singer now than I was when I recorded this album, although I do have some roughness that comes from a blood pressure medicine that I take. But I much more really know what I'm doing now as a singer. This song is a completely true story. Just taken from real life. It happened in New Hope, Pennsylvania. Additionally, I like the idea of antithesis songs. And Alan LaBeouf and I used to play that game, Antithesis Hook Lines. So we'd sit around diners at night writing songs by thinking of something and then thinking of the opposite of it. So this is the opposite of my song Girl on the High Wire. Yeah, Shore Acres. Yeah. Hi, Judy. And where was I going with that? When I wrote this, I was, in the farmhouse in Kingwood. Yes, I was, because I had gone down to New Hope one day and I saw this situation unfold. It happened in real life, so I'll do it for you now. It's the second to the last song on the record, so I'm coming to the end here. This is called Girl with the Broken Heart. It goes like this. Red trees on a silver sky, New Hope on a summer's day, friends and lovers passing by, church bells slowly play, sitting on a red brick stoop, corner of Bridge Street in Maine, head in hands and with a girl with a broken heart. Girl with a broken heart. Not part of the gay parade. In it, but not of the scene. Vivid, but not clearly seen. Girl with the broken heart. Who will see why? Who has time? 3 blocks past, I turn around. Something tells me she'll be gone. Someone told her, move along. Girl with a broken heart. Girl with a broken There's the church bells for you. Do you know that my good friend Pete Hutwelker rang the church bell, the real bell, next door on a Tuesday night, and I recorded it digitally to put on the record at the end of the song. And you're not really supposed to ring the church bell unless there's a fire or something's going on, unless the Armistice Day has come. But he bent the rules a little and did it for me, and I recorded that beautiful bell, and it's on the record. It's on the record I Love to Tell the Story, which I've just performed in its entirety, except for this last song. And this will be my maiden voyage on this song. I've never performed it live before. You'll see why. It's complex and unusual. And it's on the 12-string. And on the 4-track cassette that I recorded of it, there's like 7 instruments. I bounced tracks and I made it work. So thank you. God bless you. Thanks for listening. If you'd like to support this ongoing effort and this ongoing show here and gone from the kitchen here in Bucks County, you'll see the link to PayPal up there in both the comments section and the introductory section at the top. And if you want, you can share this video, send it around. That's horrible sounding. And February 3rd, day after Groundhog Day. Thanks, Joy. Yeah, I bought this 12-string at Jeff Klein's in Lambertville, as I said earlier. And so I'll finish the evening with this. Is the last song on the record. I've never played it before. So thanks for forgiving me. And Alan LaBeouf will be here February 3rd to do Best of the 60s, Beatles, and we'll do Left Bank, Walk Away Renee. We'll do your requests if you call in or write in the chat room. We're going to do some originals. We're going to do another piano set here with the piano set up right in front of the oven. It's a prop oven, of course. This is not a real kitchen. This is a TV studio. But join us then. This morning I woke up singing a new kind of song, a hymn from the depths of my heart. Today I set it free, set it out over a field, a key place for a start. Last night I dreamed I was a bell in a church upon a hill. I'll keep on singing until you can hear my voice. Keep on ringing until you can hear me call. The voice of a bell is like love saying yes, a bride who's saying I do. Or sometimes it's news that can save someone's life, a line that's thrown out to you. Last night I dreamed I was a bell in a church upon a hill. I'll keep on singing until you can hear my voice. I'll keep on ringing until you can hear me call. Unseen things above me. Thank you. Thanks for listening. Thanks for joining me. God bless you. Thank you, Lance. I appreciate that. And I hope we meet again someday, and come and join me and Alan February 3rd. Put that on your calendar. We'd love to have you. Have a great night.